Hi, and welcome to part 2 of Unit 3. So we left off here on part 6, writing a message with requests. So during class, I mentioned kind of what I want you guys to do. Write a message to a classmate asking for several favors. So ask for 3 favors. Get creative. I gave you guys example in class, right? Don't just be like, hey, could you take care of my pet? And say, hey, could you take care of my pet tiger? His name's Tony, because he's great. And yeah, that was a Frosted Flakes joke. Anyway, no more silly jokes, but something like that, right? So get creative, and just 3. So, hi Kim, could I ask you for some small favors? I'm planning to spend this weekend at the beach, and then we will read them in class. I'll ask for some volunteers and see who wants to do it or who doesn't. Or I'll pick someone to reply whether yes or no. Okay? So very, very simple. Just request. You can do them informally or formally. And now we're getting on to the word power. And of course, we're talking about doing favors or declining favors. So our vocabulary really is over here. A favor, an apology, an invitation, a gift, a phone call, a request, and a compliment. So here's the interesting part. It says, which verb is not usually paired with each noun? Put a line through the verb, then compare with a partner. So you can return a favor, you can do a favor, you can ask for a favor, but you don't make favors. So that one got struck out. So then apology, right? We have owe an apology, offer an apology, do an apology, and accept an apology. And we have to strike out the one that doesn't belong. So go ahead, pause it right here. Work through it. We got 7 of these. Favor, apology, invitation, gift, phone call, request, and compliment. Okay. If you want to save it for class, that's fine because we can go over each definition here. Okay. The one that I think you guys might have the hardest time with is probably compliment. But aside from that, work through it. And then we'll double check in class. Okay. And it says, add 2 questions to the list using the collocations in part A. So these phrases are collocations as to what you do with the noun. And we have, what are nice ways to return a favor? How do you usually return favors? Have you ever invented an excuse to turn down an invitation? And when was the last time you declined a request? So notice that they're kind of gifting you some of the answers here. So you pay attention to that. And then just add 2 more. Add 2 more. Pick one of these, and then we'll go over them in class. Kind of move quickly through this one because this one's going to take a little bit. It says perspectives. Can you tell her? Listen to the requests people make at the school where Mary Martin teaches. Complete each request with ask or tell. Ask or tell. So let's go ahead and play perspectives. Let's take a look here.
Page 19, Exercise 9, Perspectives. Can you tell her? Part A. Listen to the requests people make at the school where Mary Martin teaches. Complete each request with ask or tell. 1,
If you see Mary, can you tell her that she left her phone in my car?
2,
If you see Mary, could you ask her whether or not she is coming to the teachers' meeting?
3,
If you see Ms. Martin, can you ask her if she's graded our tests yet?
4,
If you see Mary, please tell her not to forget the students' reports.
5,
If you see Mary, could you ask her to find me in the cafeteria after her meeting?
6,
If you see Ms. Martin, would you ask her what time I can talk to her about my homework?
Okay. So was it ask or was it tell? If you guys need to rewind it, that's fine. But I want you to pay attention as to why it is ask or why is it tell. It's very important. If you see Mary, can you tell her that she left her phone in my car? If you see Mary, could you ask her whether or not she is coming to the teacher's meeting? Now, this phrase right here, whether or not, it's just a nice way or a formal way of saying if. If you see Mary, could you ask her if she is coming to the teacher's meeting? Okay. So here, can you tell her that she left her phone in my car? And whether or not she's coming to the meeting. So when you have these statements, you have to break them down into the following. Statements, imperatives, yes or no questions, and WH questions. So your WH questions are your journalistic questions or your information questions because you're getting information out of them. What I usually like to say is think of when your mom is questioning you after you come home way too late from chapel. It really is that easy. So let me go ahead and we'll put them here and then I'll just delete them. So your WH questions. Where were you? Who were you with? When did you come home? What did you do? How did you get home? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are your information questions, right? Where, who, when, what, and how. These are your WH questions or your W questions, information questions, journalistic questions. They're known as the 5 W's because, you know, they either start or end in a W. Why is not one of the journalistic questions because that's left for a jury. So think of yourself as a cop or a detective. Your job is to find out the facts. Where did it happen? Who was involved? When it happened? What happened? And how did it happen? The why, don't worry about that. Okay. But if you guys want to add it, that's perfectly fine. So these are information questions. They are not yes, no questions. Ms. Martin, have you graded our tests? Yes. No. Very, very straightforward. Right? Statements, you left your phone in my car. Imperatives, don't forget the students' reports. What are imperatives? Think about that. I'll ask you guys in class. I'm not going to give you the answer right now. But you have statements, imperatives. Could you tell Mary? Notice that they have that, which is optional. Could you tell Mary she left her phone in my car? It's normally a statement. Don't forget the student's reports. Okay. Can you tell Mary not to forget the student reports? So when it becomes an indirect request, the don't becomes a not to forget. Not to go. All right. Don't go to the store right now. There's a lot of traffic. Please tell your dad not to go to the store right now because there's a lot of traffic. So that's how you turn it into an indirect request. And then your information questions. Where? When? What? Okay. So when it said whether or not she's coming to the meeting, if she's coming to the meeting, it's a yes or no. We'll definitely take another look at these on Monday. It says, read the things people want to say to Mary. Rewrite the sentences as indirect requests. So remember, keep this in mind. Yes or no question, W question, WH. Did you get my message about your phone? What's the answer? Is she going to give us information, a story that goes with it, or just yes or no? Will you give me a ride to school tomorrow? When is our assignment due? When? I won't be in class tomorrow night. Return my call when you get your phone back. Okay. So it's going to be one of these up here. And you structure them like this. Can you, would you, could you, those requests that we were looking at before. Now we're going to turn them into indirect requests because we're not asking Mary directly. That's this right here. We're talking to Mary directly on this side. Here, we're asking someone else to do it. Think of your brother, your sister, your mom, maybe a classmate, something like that. Okay. So we have these 8. They did number 1 for us. Could you ask Mary if she got my message about her phone? Try and reword it. It's very similar to what we did on Friday with the formal requests, but now they're indirect. Okay. That's it. This is today's video. We'll do the speaking and the reading in class, so don't worry about it. What I am going to do now, so you guys kind of get an idea, is let me zoom in on the reading. We're going to do it in class, like we always do. You guys can freeze it if you want to read it. I'm going to give you the questions as well. Okay. That way we're not struggling like we normally do. We're like, well, we have to do the reading, and then they ask us something about the reading, we have to go back up. So here they are if you guys want to get a head start, but we'll go ahead and do it as a class as well. Okay. So I'll see you guys on Monday. You guys have a good weekend. And that was it for me. See you next week.